Hi, it's your coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to your Practice Power podcast. Hey, I hope you're having a great day today. It's a beautiful Friday here in Central Florida. You know, it's May, spring is definitely in the air, and scarily enough, the midway point of the year is just around the corner also. So what we want to do today, quite frankly, is I want to talk to you really about ramping things up. You know, a lot of us, because of the way the year started with the markets and just how things kind of unfolded, quote unquote, the best laid plans of mice and men or women, right, go by the wayside. And even though we're just about halfway through the second quarter, I always think it's a good idea to take inventory, to take stock, to evaluate how you're doing, right? So not so much your business, but yourself. You know, let's face it, our business, our world, it's really all about habits and behaviors. I mean, when you really think about whatever has to be done, right, what really boils down to is how you're doing. So what I thought we'd do in this episode today is really talk about some of the key factors, some of those key behavioral factors that are incredibly important in order for you to be at your best. You know, I was just at a conference earlier this week, a great association of active investment managers. And, you know, one of the things that I said in my talk, and it was more of a benchmarking exercise, so that's why I think this is appropriate, is that a lot of times people in this industry get caught up in trying to get their business bigger, trying to improve their process, right? Trying to improve their economic performance. And what they forget often is that their business is nothing more than a collection or a collaboration of, well, definitely themselves, right? And whomever is on that team, whether it's a part-time virtual assistant or a team of 15 or 20. At the end of the day, it's still all about human beings. Talent is one of the things that is very important in order to continue to grow a business. So what you want to be able to do is really sit down and say, okay, how are we doing? How are we resonating? And are we absolutely on shape? So let's talk about the first thing, which is your personal behaviors and habits. So let's break those down a little bit. Number one, I'm always going to go back to this, and those of you who've been around me for a long time, you can almost guess what's coming next, right? Which is our MSR, or our morning success ritual. So how are we starting our day? Are we starting our day, you know, reviewing our business plan, going over our goals, mental diet, visualization, our key power questions, right? Are we programming ourselves to have the best opportunity to have the best day out there? Or, because of the way the year started, you know, we got stuck focused on Bloomberg and CNBC and you know what's going on in Asia and what's going on in Europe and all that stuff, and we kind of lost our way. You know, we kind of lost our approach to those things. So, you know, how is that going? And then secondly, how are we doing in terms of ramping up and really being consistent with not only reviewing our business plan, which I hope at least you're doing that, but creating our monthly game plans, articulating our daily game plans, you know, having the structure, right? Because look, this industry, it has a lot of great things about it. This is not one of them. You can have the appearance of being busy and yet not be productive. And some of you, quite frankly, are masters at this, right? Because you've done it for a long time, and it becomes a challenge. So what you need to really be able to do is sit there and really make sure that you have, you know, basically what has to happen. So whether that's in your CRM, in writing, you want to make sure you have that daily game plan and be able to, what I call, keep score, right? Next, how are we doing in terms of tracking? You know, are we tracking our contacts, our referral conversations, how many reviews we've done, how much money we've raised, our P&Ls, all those things, all those what I call normal business KPIs, key performance indicators, right? We need to know what the measurability is, especially as most of you are more, you know, highly, if not entirely fee-based. You know, you don't have the old school, right, of daily gross and how many tickets we dropped. You know, the game has changed, the rules have changed, and we need to really be aware of that. And then next, how about habits? So, in terms of what do you focus on? What's our mental diet like? What are we reading? What are we listening to? What are we watching throughout the day? I just visited a brand new platinum partner. Walked into their office, and what do I see right alongside the reception area? Right there it is, CNBC, and the market's down 250 points. So if I'm a client and I'm sitting there waiting for my review, do I want to talk about my goals, or I want to talk about what's going on in the market? Well, why would you sabotage yourself with putting something like that on the TV, right? Anything else? National Geographic, Food Channel, Travel Channel, Sports Center, right? Anything but financial news, please, all right? And then getting back to habits, what are we doing for our body? So what are we eating? What are we ingesting? What are we doing there? How are we making sure we're taking care of our physical engine, right? Because our physical engine is really our economic engine. And if you don't take care of your body, you will not have the energy to execute at the level that you need to continually. So it's very, very important you make sure we do a great job on that. So those are just some habits and behaviors that you need to be aware of. Next, let's talk about this space, right? Mindset, internal dialogue. Do you still think it's possible? Here's a very important question. Do you still think it's possible for you to achieve your goals this year? Because if you say to yourself, absolutely not, get into Practice Power, tweak your business plan, right? The worst thing you could do is try to operate a business in life with an obsolete set of goals that you no longer believe in, right? Now, if you do believe it's possible, again, I didn't say likely, I didn't say highly likely, I said possible. So if you believe it's possible, then what do you need to do better, different, so on and so forth, right? And again, it gets back to our mindset. Remember, there's only two core mindsets that I in this industry, and it's not positive or negative either way, by the way. I look at it as abundant or scarcity. Do you have an abundant psychology? There's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of clients. There's plenty of ways to serve our marketplace and our clients. Or do you come from scarcity? It's really hard out there. Nobody wants to make any changes. Nobody wants to do anything, right? You tell yourself that story that becomes your reality. So I ask you, what story you're telling yourself? What's your internal dialogue like? Are you one of possibility? Or you're just lucky and you feel like you're just lucky to get through the day? All those things are incredibly important. So I want you to take stock, take inventory in this, right? How are we doing on that? Next piece, quite frankly, is execution. So are we executing our monthly game plans, our daily game plans, like I said earlier? Do we even have these things in writing, right? And this is where, to me, where a lot of advisors have a concept of being successful, but they're not willing to do the work. Look, the reality is I would love to sit here and tell you all that all you have to do is think good, happy thoughts and do a happy dance and all your goals would happen. That's just not true. It would be a lie. What has to happen is you need to know what your outcomes are, why they're an absolute must for you, so compelling, and then you've got to be willing to get uncomfortable emotionally, psychologically, right? And maybe even physically, and what do I mean by that? Well, maybe you need to go get one of these, a stand-up desk that goes up and down, right? And be able to stand and use your body and still hit the gym, take care of your body, energy, watch what you eat, right? So yeah, get uncomfortable physically. But don't sit there and say to yourself, well, I want to double my business in 3 to 5 years, and you think you can stay the same person. Because unless you're willing to change and evolve, it ain't going to happen. One of the things I tell anybody who comes in our space who wants to think about retaining us as their partner, their performance partner, is that you have to understand something. We'll come to the table, myself and my team of coaches, and we'll partner with you. But it's like any other relationship. We can't do the work for you. We can help you make the shifts, but at the end of the day, you've got to make the shifts yourself. You got to be willing to get uncomfortable. So when somebody says to me, Joe, is it possible to double a business in 3 years? And I don't mean a small business, I mean a large business, right? Or a successful business. The answer is yes with this caveat. How uncomfortable are you as the leader, owner, CEO willing to get? Because if you're not willing to get uncomfortable, guess what? We'll make some progress. I'm still saying we won't be successful. We might grow at 10, 15, 18, 20% a year for a couple of years, right? So we'll still move the needle. But that's not a double. That's a whole different psychology. And are you ready for that? So you need to be aware of that. So again, some things I want you to take a look at. Next, marketing and business development. So how are we doing executing our marketing plan, our business development plan? For those of you who use our business planning process in PracticePower, Module 8, right? Business development game plan, right? How well are we doing at referral conversations, referral gathering, introduction awareness? How well are we doing at optimization, financial plans, looking for outside assets, other ways we can serve our clients? How are we doing in terms of our storefront, our website, our social media presence, our newsletter, our email communication, all the things we need to do, our client events, our hybrid events, all those things. How are we doing at execution? Because the plan is only as good as the execution. Look, I can take any one of you who are listening or watching me, and I can probably within 15 minutes give you a business development game plan. Because the reality is there's only so many ways you can skin this cat. And it will work. But if you don't do it, it won't work, right? So to me, it's not a question of what the plan is. It's what do we need to do to get you to execute it. That's the bottom line. And that's something you've got to really get comfortable with and understand for yourself. So how well are we executing that? And then quite frankly, lastly, before we wrap up today, is, again, what business are we really in? And that's a very important question. And maybe a little different way of articulating it is not just what business are we in, but what business do we need to be in, or what business should we be in, right? So all of you are in the financial services, financial planning, wealth management business, right? I think that's how most of you would identify / articulate what you do. But is that really the business you're in or should be in? I think the business we're all in we're in the Goodwill client relationship business. If you think about it for a second, you have no contract with your client that states that that they will stay for X period of time, no matter what. It's a real at-will relationship. And when you think about the currency that you have, the only currency that matters is the goodwill of that client towards you and your business. Because without that, you don't have a client. So the question I have for you since the beginning of the year is this. What steps have you done, what strategies have you deployed to increase your client's goodwill? Touch-base calls, reviews, events, caring more, right? I was with this group, as I said earlier today, and they're very bright people, and I find this interesting because I don't, I do a lot of work with wealth managers and RIAs and financial advisors, and a lot of these people are really PMs also, and so I made the statement. I said, look, I would say pretty much everybody in this room is in love with their process, in love with their portfolio. I think that's great. If you didn't have that, you probably wouldn't be in this room. I said, I think most of you love your business, right? Because it's your baby, and it kind of, serves and stuff like that. You want to nurture your baby. But I said, here's the question I have for you. How many of you really love your clients? Really, really love your clients? And I don't mean love, like a little bit. I mean this is why we're here. And in this room, the client also could be you, the financial advisor who they sub-advise for, right? So in that regard. But do you love them? Do you love that marketplace? Because if you don't love that marketplace, you'll do okay if you're just good, if you're a good implementer, a good executor. But if you really, really want to have a difference, you've got to fall in love with your client. So how do you do with client service, relationship building, goodwill building? How, are you really elevating that? Because let's face it, as our industry, as our profession becomes more and more commoditized, goodwill and loving and falling in love with your client is going to be one of the key differentiators between those that do not become commoditized to those that do. Just because you have a better mousetrap doesn't mean you'll have one tomorrow. Goodwill is our currency. When you buy a practice, that's what you're buying, quite frankly, and that's what we have to work with. So just keep that in mind. And I just, again, in this episode, I just want to make you aware of these things, so that you know what to look for, kind of what areas you need to focus on as we go forward. So I hope you found this valuable. if you're watching us on YouTube, hey, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, give us some feedback or what you thought. If you have a request for a topic, I'll be happy to honor. If I can serve you well on that, that's great. If you're listening to us on iTunes or through our podcasting network, again, always give us some feedback. We love to have that. Also, really quick, a quick announcement. It's a little secret, but we're going to let it out now a little bit. Myself and my partners are really involved right now at ramping up Practice Power, tearing it apart. We are creating something that is going to blow the doors off the industry from a training, coaching, and development space that I'm so excited about. It's going to happen in the third quarter. I'll keep you in a loop on it, but we're going to have not only the best value proposition, but the best robust platform for coaching and development in the industry, and that's exciting. So have a great weekend, or if you're happen to be listening to this during the week, right, rest of your day, and I look forward to being with you again next time, and let's go get them.